Mind over matter, let's fight this depression, let's fight this oppression, fight back with aggression. This come with your heart, I provide all the weapons. Come take a look in the eyes of a soldier. I drop that real and it spread like Ebola. Man, on my word, I don't know what they told ya. I got the weight of the world on my. Let me tell you, everybody know the name. I'm one of one, I'm a god in my lane. The devil up on me, I'm marching in flames. The Lord in my heart, I got my angel wings. They talk about people accomplishing dreams. They talk about me and the rest of my team. Keeping it G and they don't what it seems. It get complicated like Avril Lavigne. Yeah, top down, screaming out money and anything. Box out, never let a nigga in my lane. Cropped out, you would get taken out the frame. Dropped out, nigga had to find another way. I don't like when you bitch niggas hate from afar. I respect when it's simple and it's personal. Ain't about what you say, it's about what you show me. Decisions you make in reversible. I got a whole list of shit I'm allergic to. Fuck niggas, snitch niggas, I don't want no sort of ties. Most of y'all niggas fugazi and lazy, like y'all never learn how to prioritize. Me and my niggas, we all kinda wavy, cause niggas like us put it all on the line. Straight to the Benjamins, hustle unlimited. Plus, you know we got unlimited vibes. Stay low, go hard, get paid, provide, maintain, no pain, no gain, yeah. Everybody wanna judge, but I never hold a grudge, cause I know they couldn't look at my shoes. Make room on floor when the hoes on go, y'all niggas can't do what I do. I done showed a lot of love, and I never got it back, and I never asked for it, I'm cool. When you really on the job, like I'm really on the job, yeah, so tell me how can you lose? I ain't got nothing but do on my schedule, do with the flow in that booth, I go federal. Bring your bitch through, she get fucked on the sectional. She go to God, I come through like the restaurant. I am the one. I think I'm Keanu Reeves off in that box. I feel like Apollo Creed off in that twat. I'm no beginner, I move like a winner. You move like a nominee. These are the days of our lives. Pain in our eyes. Mindful of wisdom that came from the west. I made mistakes and I learned from them all. My reputation was tainted at times. I jumped when I should have been patient at times. Love when I should have been hateful at times. Beefing cause these niggas they never kind if they creeped in the.
You are listening to with show host Wood.
Hey, what's good, family? Oh man, get ready to get started here. Let me was having some technical difficulties. What's new? You can kind of see from the thumbnail what I was getting ready to get into tonight. Get into that in just a second. There we go. Man, I didn't feel like wearing no cap tonight. I was out in the garage getting a workout in, and just thought I was gonna keep it Lenny Kravitz in here tonight. Son, and so maybe Lester Freeman from the Wire, but yeah, I'm gonna get into some entertainment talk. Quickly, shout out to my man, Sleeko Got Bars, SGB. That's the record cover or album cover behind me. Artist from Dayton, Ohio. I've really been supporting the last 16, 18 months and whatnot through his last 3 projects. This God Bless the Real, which is the album cover behind me. That's been out for about a little over a week and a half. And from what I understand, the lead-off single, I Believe I Can Fly, the R. Kelly song. I Believe I Can Fly. From what I understand, it might be over 30,000 views right now, the video, on YouTube. They shot that down in Atlanta, or at least parts of it. And so, yeah, you know, they just continue to work and continue to grind. So check those brothers out. So, you know, show some support. You can check out the project on Spotify. You can listen to you can find the playlist for the album on Topic on YouTube. And then, of course, you know, at all the places where you would download or stream music, it's there. I know they're on Tidal. You can check it out. So I sent a partner of mine a text message about Sleeko the other day, and I got a text message this morning and said that the boy he's good. He has some skills. So you know, salute to him for having good taste. But yeah, I do appreciate the album. Like I said, there's 12 or 13 songs on there. I think it's about their best work, and they keep kind of reinvesting in it or in their product to make it stronger each time out. And you know, I'm just enjoying watching those fellas grow, watching that team grow. that was about it for that. So I'm gonna get into a little bit of I ain't got all my stuff named here correctly today. What's going on? Yeah, I'm gonna get ready to get into this first topic. I'm gonna go, since I'm talking about music. I stumbled onto a joint yesterday from this kid that damn near blew my mind. It's a kid out of New York called HD. The name of his song is called Ghetto Sunday Part 2. I think there's a Part 1 and a Part 2. I don't know what the difference is between the two. I know Part 2 has the video, like a normal looking video and whatnot. Then I also saw on HD, he has a YouTube channel, him and his team, for the video and for his music. And they have something on there that's like something from Timbaland. And Timbaland, or maybe I was on his Instagram page, but Timbaland says something like, "Let me shock you," and then jumps to the video, cuts to the video, Ghetto Sunday, and it shocks the hell out of you. I mean, he's from Brooklyn, and he sounds damn near like a 96 to 2000, 96 to 98 Jay-Z. I mean, it's nothing I can... There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no way to talk around it. That's just what it is. But and then as the song comes in, at first I'm thinking he's more of like a papoose. Because I think I cut to the video on Instagram and it dumps you in the middle of it, and I'm like, oh, he kind of sound like Papoose a little bit, but Papoose sounds like Jay. And so then when I went over to YouTube to watch the whole video, I'm blown away. I mean, I'm like, damn, this kid sounds exactly like Jay. Like his vocabulary, the words that he uses, how he like changes subject in the middle of his verses, how he hits that last word and sets it up at the end of the bar. It's a little pause in there to emphasize some things. It's a lot of similarities to Jay, and all I can say to the kid is good luck with trying to follow up this first song, because it's that dope. And it's kind of they don't make many songs like that anymore, but it's like that summertime or late spring, mid-spring kind of salute to the neighborhood, to the projects, to the hood, to all of the different characters in the hood. And it kind of I mean, he's talking about, throughout the song, he's kind of talking about how he's followed his own path based on his interests, but he's watching a lot of the characters in the hood die off or get jammed up, or all of the treacherous things that can happen in the wrong environment, or in a deadly environment. And so like I said, it's almost like hearing Dead Presidents back in the day when I first heard Jay. The track is faster, but check it out, man. His name is HD. Phenomenal song. Like I said, man, I would have been afraid to drop that, because what do you follow that up with? And I think he has some other songs or some freestyles over some familiar beats and samples that we've heard in the past, so on and so forth. But yeah, good luck, best of luck on backing that up, following that up. Could get become very challenging. So and that another thing, I think the song is like 4.5 minutes long, 4 minutes and 20 seconds or something. You don't hear songs like that anymore. 3 verses. It's definitely a throwback. It's a throwback record. So I'm gonna look for the kid to see what he does next and keep up with him. Let me get into this. I guess I'm gonna save Insecure for last. Where was I going? Mike. The end of The Last Dance on ESPN. 10 episodes. I gotta admit, man, I didn't expect to make it that far. this really wasn't supposed to air until, from what I understand, it wasn't supposed to air until June. And one reason why they couldn't put it together, like a weekly, like a day-to-day or over 5 nights or over 10 nights or whatever, or 2 weeks, 1 episode a night or whatever. The reason they couldn't do that is because episodes 9 and 10, or at least definitely episode 10, was not complete when they started this back on April 19th. It wasn't even complete. So, and I think they just finished it up in the last 3 or 4 weeks. My stream wasn't working earlier. But it's over with now. I don't have a lot of takeaways from it. I'm probably overdosing on the number of memes out there on who's the best between LeBron and MJ, who's the best with Kobe, and who's the top 10 NBA, all of that stuff, man. If you have fun with that, you can have a lot of fun right now hashing that out. I'm not sure anybody's going to win. I am a little disappointed that we kind of want to be revisionists in a way and go back and be the, and now like MJ is like a new villain. Now that we get to see how he was moving behind the scenes, how he was operating, how he was interacting with cats on the team and whatnot. He's kind of always been that way. He's never really ingratiated himself with the common folk and whatnot. And since he's moved on, being an owner and whatnot, or a partial owner and working his way to an owner, MJ's always kind of been on his BS and, pushing his own thing. And so for me to go back now and, he's snitching, he snitched, he did this, blah, 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 he's a bully. I was a little caught off guard with the way that he interacted and kind of the rift that he had with Jerry Krause. That was a little, I wasn't expecting that. But you didn't see as much as the jokes that you saw in the first couple of episodes. You didn't see much of that going towards the end. I guess the one thing that I didn't really rock with too tough in the documentary is the fact that they went out and got those interviews of the other people like Gary Payton, Reggie Miller maybe, a couple other guys maybe here and there. They went out and got those interviews of those guys and brought the videos back and let Mike speak on it. And this is the thing, the winner gets to write the history, and the winner gets to write all the rules. And so they bring it back, and like everything that they said, he gets to sit there and laugh at it and belittle it. And these are dudes who were in that moment, they were fighting, an unstoppable force. And Mike, some people would say Mike got certain calls and whatnot after a certain part, definitely in the second three-peat. So you were fighting, an unstoppable force, and you had to believe in what you were doing and focus on what you were doing to even be competitive. But now Mike can just sit here and laugh it all off, and say, I never had any problems with the glove. The glove didn't do this, blah, blah, blah. It's almost like it's almost like heckling a comedian. You could be funny as hell, and you could really roast that dude up on the stage, but because he has the microphone, or he or she has the microphone, you're fighting an uphill battle. Like, you can't win. He doesn't even have to say anything, or he or she, the comic, doesn't even have to say any great cracks. They can just call you a name, a single name, or repeat what you said in a funny way. They can do something simple and get a great reaction out of it, and you kind of fighting an uphill battle. So I didn't really rock with that too much, where he was able to kind of go back and marginalize anything that those guys said. I wasn't too much of a fan of that. Other than that, though, I don't think I really got a whole lot out of the last 2 episodes. And to be honest, I haven't even watched all of 9. Probably watched 30 minutes of of episode 10. I mean, we know what the outcome is. I was a little shocked that some people weren't familiar with it being a pizza versus the flu game, which some people associated the sneakers with. That pair of J's was referred to as the flu game. I had heard that long ago that it was a pizza and it was food poisoning. I guess you can't really market and sell food poisoning like you can the flu game sneakers or the flu game kicks or whatever. But other than that, it was something to hold our attention. The question becomes now, what is well, I'll take that back. I was pretty impressed. Earlier in the in the earlier episodes, there was Scottie Pippen had the stigma attached to him that he was kind of soft, and so on and so forth. But to see him battling through the back injury that he had in that game 6 out in Utah, that was a good look for him, and just to understand them trying to get this done, this second three-peat out away from home. They let one slip away. That's what I was trying to talk to. I remembered. The one thing that you'll notice is every game that like I said, the winner gets to write the rules and write the history. Every game that the Bulls won, every game that the Bulls lost, it was a definite reason why they lost. Every time that they lost in the finals, Mike had a reason, whether it was his father, which might have been that one might have been less of an excuse and more of a reason or even justification maybe. But he gets to say why he lost. We didn't have good rhythm that night, or I did this, or there was a story going on out there that I was bothered, I was pissed off at, so on and so forth. It was always he gets to say his reason, and we in boxing we always have different reactions to when guys talk about why they lost the fight that they were favored in and whatnot. So I did notice that. Anytime that Mike lost, it was some significant reason. Like he just couldn't lose. It couldn't have just been that the other team outplayed them that night. The other coach rose to the occasion that night. So on and so forth. It was some internal reason with Mike. And that's lastly, it's pawned off on us that this is the 97-98 Bulls, but it basically was Mike's story. Again, the winner and the most transcendent figure, he gets to he gets to say everything. And that's interesting too. The winning game 6 on the road, the only player that scored in double digits was Kukoc. And I mentioned this a couple weeks ago with looking at them against the 7-16 or 17 even Golden State Warriors. All of these championship games ending 93-89 and 98-94 or 92-87. Now, we think more defense with the Bulls, a defensive-minded team and whatnot. I get all of that, but the scoring is a lot different nowadays. I just leave it at that. So let me go on and get on to this. That's what we're all waiting to see now is what do they do? With the NBA. I would imagine with each day, they got to come on out and make a decision on what they're going to do with the balance of this season. And it's kind of crazy with the businesses who are, in just over 2 months, there's some businesses that might be able to capitalize on this moment with providing testing, with providing testing devices and whatnot. And any of the vendors who could get involved to allow them to move forward with having a season safely or having the playoffs and whatnot. I'm just hearing some different rumblings and grumblings of potential products that could be used in the testing, and if they go with this campus situation, and that is one interesting thing. If the NBA was to go to Orlando, that's a tourist city. Orlando's has lost a ton of revenue. Vegas is the other option. They use both of these locations for the summer leagues and whatnot. So it would kind of be a positive almost if they were to come back and use those two locations, Orlando and Las Vegas. I vacillated quite a bit on wanting to come back or thinking that it should be over. The guest that I had on Sunday, maybe yesterday, to talk through the PG County documentary. At the end of all of this, it would be an asterisk for whoever wins it. So, for somebody like LeBron, how adamant are you about returning to the game? If you were to win it, it's gonna have that asterisk on there. If you lost it, that's more, or lost the finals, or even that didn't get past the Los Angeles Clippers, it could be detrimental to his legacy. So who knows? But again, like I said, it's been really interesting to start to hear the different companies who are stepping forward, thinking that they can bring some things to the table to allow some of these different sports leagues and whatnot, to get back to operations. And I would imagine, some of the best practices and the success stories from professional sports would trickle into the everyday world, and eventually they have to start getting some data to look at and some some examples to look at for moving forward in the future. Artists will want to start touring, will need to start touring. The NFL is going to want to go. College football is going to want to go. The world is going to move on whether or not all of this stuff is really solved or not. So, like I said, that's one interesting thing. If you're watching this, you could take a look at what companies kind of emerge out of this situation as a leader of industry in some kind of way. But let me get over to this Insecure. I got like 5 points that I was going to talk through on this most recent Insecure. Again, I just kind of watch Insecure, man. It's something I check out with my wife. It's not. I might even touch on Billions real quick. I still don't really know what the hell is going on Billions. I won't even get into all of that. I might not get into Billions. I may or may not. But with I am very interested in what's going on with Insecure at the moment. I think it's a great thing that they've done to take a look at these relationships. I think if for anybody who's getting to like 27, maybe through 35, a lot of relationships can take a lot of different turns. And one thing we hear with Raquel, what's her name? Raquel Robinson, the actress that plays Issa's mom. As soon as Issa comes in the house and is kind of down about her situation, mom says something about seasons. It could be a season. And really that's what comes into play with these relationships at like 27 through 35, I think. You got some people that get out there and get married, mid-20s. You got some people who have some kids, have some children and whatnot. And that starts affecting all of these relationships that you may have had through high school, middle school, high school, relationships that were formed in college and whatnot. And as people start getting these having these life events, you know, that person that you spent all this time with and may have been top priority on a daily basis, that could change drastically. So I like what they're doing right now with the script, with Molly and Issa kind of at this part in episode 6, low key done. They're not talking, and they just came off of this huge blow up in front of everybody. That further probably adds some fuel to the fire between them, that this happened in front of everybody that they know. And it's probably why both of them seem to be so reticent and aren't interested in being the first one to reach out and squash this thing. Disclaimer, they're probably going to get this thing together by the end of the season. Although next week, I think in the next episode, Molly, I believe, is going to go on a trip with her boyfriend, Andrew, and someone in Andrew's family. I think it's either Andrew's brother or a cousin, but that person and their partner, it's a double date type thing. And it'll be interesting to see Molly away from people that understand her and her BS. You know, she was already insecure or unsure of how to move or whether to move forward with Andrew, you know, with him being an Asian man and whatnot. She already dealt with that for a minute and kind of sought some consultation from some counsel from Issa about that. And, you know, she got to move past that. But yeah, she could be going on, you know, on the road for 24, 48 hours with these other people who don't know her humor and don't, you know, the way she reacts to everything and her idiosyncrasies and whatnot. And some things could happen to where she comes back to LA or Inglewood and maybe fixing, you know, mending fences with Issa becomes more of a priority because she screws up something else in that area. But let's get into this episode 6, low key done. Get my notes over here to a better place. You can see in the opening, whatever song that I didn't look it up, but whatever song that was that opened up the episode was pretty dope. I need to check out who that artist was. It really fit the moment because Issa is laying in the bed staring at the ceiling and kind of unsure of what to do. And one thing that I'm picking up on here is that she's so distracted and so bothered by the situation, the falling out between her and her longtime friend, that she really can't even look at the fact that she pulled this block party off. That, you know, she hatched this idea out of thin air and actually brought it to fruition and put in all the legwork and, you know, the sweat equity and, you know, all the networking, everything that she did to pull this thing off and to make it be successful, to get the headliner that she got. She's too distracted to even capitalize on her momentum. The one thing as she's laying there, the funny thing is that she starts to check out the feedback on social media and Shannon on the scene. I had to laugh to myself with listening to Shannon on the scene. If you saw the previous episode, moving on, low key moving on. Shannon on the scene is a new YouTube channel, and Shannon on the scene does this interview with Issa's intern. You know, has a little earpiece in and the agenda and all of that. And goes over to her and was like, you got to interview with media. You know, they want to interview. And so Issa, being new to interview, she goes over there enthusiastic to participate, to be interviewed. And she answers a couple of questions from Shannon. And then she turns to her and was like, okay, well, what outlet are you with? And she was like, I'm getting ready to start my YouTube channel. So that kind of hit home because I've been there. You know, I've asked some people for some questions before or to get a moment. Like back in 2016, I asked the vice president of Showtime Sports, Steven Espinosa. People in the boxing world know him pretty well. But it was for an Adrian Broner fight, obviously, down in Cincinnati. And I'm just trying to get whoever, get time with whoever. And I knew something about him, but I was like, he was walking by and I was like, hey man, can I get a minute? And he was super accommodating. He was like, okay, let's go back over here to where the media area is. It's quieter over there. Your audio will be like, he walked me through it. And, he made me feel like I was, a 4 or 5 year veteran, on for ESPN or something. And we had a really good conversation. It was on a podcast that I put out there. So I've been there with Shannon Unseen. But Shannon says something. I think she has her first video up on social media, maybe on YouTube. But she says something about Negroes gathered for fried chicken and cocoa butter and something else. And it was kind of, I thought this, and that's the thing, I thought this episode was from beginning to end. I thought it was one of the more hilarious episodes that they've had recently. In the midst of this major rift between the two main characters is the funniest episode that I think they've had in quite a while. So anyway, Issa really doesn't even engage with any of the positive feedback from her event. She's still tripping over her girlfriend and wondering how to even approach this thing, at that, just stuck there. But anyway, she gets on with her self-care Sunday movement that I believe she may have started with Molly. She goes into the bathroom to get ready and freshen up and whatnot, and she has a real hilarious exchange with herself that's in the mirror, and herself reminds her, like, hey, you're always the one reaching out to her. On this one right here, you can't do that this time. And I think really the reason that Molly came at her, for me, Molly would have to initiate making nice again. That's just how it would play with me. But she has a discussion with her mirror self, and then Nathan calls. He's at the barbershop. It's real weird to me how they've just worked Nathan back in, but he does say something like, since he's been back in LA, he's been working his butt off, and he didn't realize or recognize that his birthday had passed. But Nathan was a huge fan of the event. He said it was dope as hell, and he's like, you should really be proud of yourself for your hard work and whatnot, and your efforts and everything, and enjoy this moment, bask in this for a minute. And so she doesn't really bite on the fact that it's his birthday. Let's get together, let's link up. She kind of says, happy belated birthday whenever it was or something, and just moves on. And then she does want to clarify and make sure that Nathan understands that she's still kind of a little wounded from the insults or the way that she was attacked by Molly, and she's like, I just want you to know that I didn't use you to talk to Andrew to get Vince Staples. It was just on the humble, just us having a relationship. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, and I needed some help. And that's why I really think Molly was wrong. I really do. And the timing of when Molly puts her foot down and says that, I want to have barriers between you and my boyfriend who's been here for a handful of months and whatnot. I thought that was horrible timing from Molly. So anyway, Nathan is like, nah, man, you pretty much did what you had to do based on the circumstances and the deadline that you had and everything. He said he was more than happy to help out. And Issa really doesn't even take a lot of, she doesn't even take a lot of solace in that he lets her off the hook. But anyway, so The plot for this whole episode is that she moves out and she's gonna go out and try to pay it forward on a couple of things. And the first situation is she's in the store buying some wine and this pregnant lady is asking different people in the line for help with some grocery items. And she finally gets up to Issa and like, I thought she wanted to cut in line. And like because she was pregnant, she was maybe feeling some kind of discomfort or something, and she just wanted to cut in line. But she wanted somebody to actually pay for her items. I don't even know why Issa volunteered, because we know Issa's money is always funny. But Issa's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna help you out. I don't know you, but you're pregnant. You're being ignored by all of these people behind me, and I'm at rock bottom at the moment, emotionally and whatnot. Let me help you out. Of course, the bill comes to like $150 or something. There's a couple of funny moments in here that, like I said, help to make this the funniest episode I've watched in a while. And of course, Issa cannot, her card, her card can't hold it. So she runs it twice, and the cashier is like, "Look, this is not going to change. Yeah, we need to move this along." And then the pregnant woman says, she told Issa that she was beautiful. Now that might have been game. You helping me out? Let me say something kind to make this situation less awkward than it is. But she said she was real beautiful, and Issa really couldn't even accept that, whether she was sincere about it or not. She just moved on to like help her out. But then the girl says, you know what? Don't worry about it. What the gift that you've given me in this situation is perspective. And that's one thing about this whole, in the wake of having this successful block party, Issa isn't really able to grasp a healthy perspective for herself and moving forward. So the girl walks off, and Issa is on her way to her next situation. She gets out there and observes this gentleman who misses the bus, and it seems like he had an important trip that he was trying to make. So Issa, from her Lyft experience and whatnot, and she's out doing this Good Samaritan thing, she pulls up on the gentleman and is like, "Hey, you need a ride?" And some more humor. He says something. Older guy, gray, salt and pepper, gray beard. He says, I'm not into them Lyfts or them Boobers instead of Uber. Thought that was pretty funny. This actor right here, his name is Brent Jennings. He's been around for a minute. For me, most notably, he was in back in 1990. He was in the sequel of 48 Hours, another 48 Hours, with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. And he's just kind of been this character actor throughout the years. I didn't think he had really been in anything recently, but I guess he was actually in Snowfall recently. And then he's pretty much worked every year since 1990. A lot of television. He has shifted over more so to television, but I'm telling you what his name is, Brent Jennings, because I didn't know the guy had the type of comedic chops to pull off this like angry, erratic, older black man with like, those types of crazy point of views and perspectives that your older uncle might have, when you were younger. But he's all over the place. He's bossy, but in their ride to where they're going, he says a couple of things that kind of resonate with Issa. And I don't know, it's like with her like having to use some humility in dealing with this dude who's very volatile as a passenger. He gets on her about the temperature. It's too cold, it's too hot. He's all over the place, but that really doesn't bother her. She really goes through with they had to make a stop, an unexpected stop for him to use the bathroom. She thought about driving off, but she's like, nah, I'm gonna see this through and get this dude to where he's going. Now, in the past, we know she's been a bit of a quitter. So I don't know if this is just kind of a growing moment for Issa. But the interesting thing is that when they get to where they're going, she's actually facilitated a very important moment, because evidently when he knocks on the door, the younger man that answers, he says that that's his dad. And so it's kind of a warm moment for Issa. I don't know if she was still sitting there listening when he said that, or she had started driving off already. But like I said, she helped facilitate a really important reunion between these two men. Again, maybe she's not even sticking around to get the credit, for what she did. It's another opportunity that she misses out on right there. So she gets to where she's going, which is this paint and sip type function. That's what she was picking up the wine for. And when she gets in there, she sits at a table with these three women. They're actually a bride and two of her bridesmaids. They're in town from DC. That was kind of interesting that they took a trip out to LA. I didn't really make the connections on this right here, but the girl, the bride, is played by Kyla Pratt. And then there's two others, Kinsey, and I can't remember the other girl's name. But they loosen up because they didn't know what they were getting into. They didn't know that it was bring your own bottle. So with Issa having all of this huge container of wine that she just purchased, they're able to drink with her. And over the course of this exchange, she meets. They're interested in her, and she's fits right in. Her networking game is improving drastically. Like, she might be learning that she's really not just stuck with only rocking with Molly. Like, she can get out here and meet new people and so on and so forth. Or so we think. The event winds down. It's some more hilarious stuff. One of the girls draws a cactus that looks like a penis and whatnot. And then they leave, and the girls invite Issa. They're like, we're getting ready to go up to the corner and have some drinks at this bar. Do you want to join us? And Issa doesn't have nothing to do, so she obliges. She takes them up on their offer after a quick discussion with her mirror self. And I was kind of wondering what was going on here. Well, they get to the bar, have some drinks and whatnot, and they ask her, what do you do? And she doesn't even know what she calls herself. Like, the obvious thing I thought would have been to run with event planner. But Issa basically gets around to she's a cultural curator. I think I've used that for my own self on here as what I do. But she says, yeah, I just did this very successful block party. I just had my headliner was Vince Staples. Basically I connect people with things that they're highly interested in, and I do it on a big scale, and blah blah blah. And they're sitting here taking all of this in because they think that it's better. Which I don't know if I would. A couple times that I've been to DC, it's quite a bit of stuff to do in DC. But they're like, they give her a lot of credit for this. And again, Issa is kind of struggling with how to accept the significance of what she did. And it's funny because she was so lost in trying to get that thing off of the ground, especially with, before Condola came on the scene and whatnot. But she doesn't even really know how to pat herself on the back and bask in this moment. And she still hasn't really grasped what she's gonna do next. She doesn't know if she has to go back to thinking about, trying to re-enter a nonprofit, corporate America, grow up and be an adult for a change, or is being the living tenant property manager, is that her ceiling, or is that as big as it gets for her? But she starts warming up when they start, heaping this praise on her for what she did or what she said she did. and the networking that she has and what she represents, and she starts to feel herself a little bit. So the one girl gets up to go to the bathroom. Her name is Kenzie. I forget who gets ready to go to the bathroom, but Issa and Kenzie end up going to the bathroom, and they make small talk on the way. And Kenzie is like, well, where do we, where can we meet up with some fellas? Can you put us on with how to find some men and to have some company while we're in town? Quick little question here. It is my pet peeve. They refer throughout the whole show, especially in this episode. All women are referred to as bees, and all men are referred to as the N-word. Is that what it is? I don't know. I don't go out with too many 30-year-olds. I'm rarely out at the bar with too many 30-year-olds. But is that solely the way that we speak about one another at this point? I don't know. It's not really a negative for me on the show, but it's just, I don't know. It just strikes me as odd. But she's like, well, as they get into the stalls to do their business and whatnot, Issa starts running down like these different areas or nearby smaller cities or even other cities in California. And she's like, well, you can go here for this type of brother, here for that type of brother, and over here for a married brother, artsy brothers, I think she said, Leimert Park and whatnot. And she notices that the girl stops responding to her. So she looks down beneath, underneath the one side of the partition, doesn't see any feet. She starts getting concerned. I think she's picking up on what may have possibly happened to her. She gets herself together and whatnot, and heads back out to the table, and they're gone. And they were playing a joke on her. They were doing, as part of the bachelorette celebration or activities, they were doing a scavenger hunt, and one of the things that they had to complete on the hunt was to befriend a stranger and then leave him with a bill or something. So Issa puts two and two together really quickly. Like, I just told them all the places for them to go. They might be headed there, and they're on foot too, possibly. So let me get in the car and run down on them. So she gets down the street and sees them, and I thought this was another very hilarious moment in the episode. But she comes, she stops in the middle of the street, gets out of the car with the canvas from what she just painted, and runs up on the Kenzie girl and slams the canvas over her head. And she says, how many points do y'all get for that? And then I think Kyla Pratt is like, what's wrong with you or something? And she was like, everything, bitach. And it was just a hilarious exchange to me. And I thought maybe she was fighting for herself, learning, to fight back. But then it flashes back. She just dreamed or envisioned herself even in the score with them like that, but she did not avenge the fact that they got her over on her. She had to pay the bill and whatnot. And I could imagine that drinks in LA are for 4 people is pretty expensive. Drinks and like some finger food and whatnot. I think it was an Asian spot that they were in. It's funny that her card could hold that, but couldn't hold the items that the pregnant woman earlier in the episode couldn't hold. But I thought that little exchange was pretty funny. And this is kind of the mystery moment of the show. She gets on her cell phone, and did you know who she was talking to? But she says, can I come over? And it wasn't in a sexy way, but it wasn't the way that I thought she would say it to the person who it ends up being. But I didn't know if she had reached out to Lawrence or if she had reached out to Nathan because she had talked to him earlier. I didn't kind of know what was, or did she reach out? Did she put her differences aside and give Molly a call? So it turns out she went to her mother's house, and that's where the image behind me is with Raquel Robinson. I'm hoping that's her last name. But so she gets over to Mom. I don't think we've seen Mom a whole lot over the first 3 seasons. But she's basically like, she goes to Mom because she's completely lost. Like, she still hasn't embraced the fact of what she accomplished. Who knows if she made any real money to feel like this is a viable move, like long term I can do this and earn some money that I can do something with. Or is this just a passion project to where I'm doing something that nobody I know is doing, and it's something that I enjoy because I love music and I love showcasing these artists. But again, there's really no financial loom to her in, when it's all said and done. So maybe that's one reason why she's asking her mother, or telling her mother, like, what do I do next? She's 30 years old, no significant relationships. She says she's all over the place. She gives her mom a dry, even, I know Issa's been acting for a few years now, and even, maybe 9 years ago, going back to her own show. I have not seen all of the movies that she's done. I haven't seen any of them, to be honest. I don't think I'll catch them when I catch them. But she gave a dry eye cry. I guess it was fitting for a sitcom, though. But it wasn't really a vulnerable moment. I mean, probably in my mid-20s, I may or may not have had a similar moment when I may or may not have reached a tipping point to where I had been in the midst of something for a couple of years or a few years, and I didn't see the end of the road and what the payoff was in it. And I think I was going to school, working full time, and the program that I was in was a ton of work, and the cohort that I had was it was a rotating door, and I may or may not have been just drained at that moment and might have collapsed in my mama's arms. Maybe not. But, Mom has the answers. She's like, again, Issa says something. She cites something that her mother said to her years ago, like something like you had too many irons in the fire or too many lines in the water, something like that. And I think she even said it was something in like kindergarten, first grade or something when her mother said it. But her mother was like, nah, I really was envious that you had. I really was envious that you had all of these interests. And I figured, and furthermore, with you having all of those interests, I thought it would be an opportunity for you to do a bunch of different things because you weren't pigeonholed into one area. So, you're looking at, again, her self-valuation. Damn, I messed that all up. Her self-esteem and her confidence in, like, her skill set and whatnot is part of her problem. And which could be something that's exacerbated by the fact that Molly is so damn successful. So, like, maybe that relationship isn't even really healthy at the end of the day. Maybe she needs some time away, like that time period that I was just talking about. And this is why this whole rift, this little rivalry that they're letting flesh out and be a thing, I guess that's why I'm kind of digging it, because I was here one time where some different individuals in my circle were farther along or seemed to be farther along in what they were trying to do, and I was measuring myself up to them in many ways. It's not like their life was fantastic, but it was, like I said, I'm juggling, I'm being a student, with 19 and 20-year-olds during the day, but I got the bills of like a 32-year-old or something, and I just wanted to get to where I could get back to doing what I wanted to do, with more of my time. But her mom points it out to her like, hey, you will figure this situation out. She's like, I was younger, you know. She tells her that some more humor, but she says that she had 2 accidents in having Issa and her brother, and but she's like, hey, I figured it out, and you will too. That's what living is. That's what early adulthood. You are on you are at the end of the spectrum when you should be coming out of this, but it's not too late for you, and you'll figure it out. And maybe coming over here and getting some more sage advice from mom, might be a part of helping you get on the right path. Versus someone who's staring down their nose at you, and because I keep wondering, is that part of Molly's situation where she's jealous because while she has this great career, and while she's accomplished all of this stuff, she's dope at her job. But something is still missing for Molly. And I just wonder, like I said, she has a nice place, nice vehicle. And that's the thing, we're always, what is that? The grass always looks greener on the other side of the fence or whatever. We always want to do or find something that appeals in the person next to us. So she leaves out of there, after getting this positive talk, this reinforcement from mom. She gets a call from Kelly. Kelly usually inserts a lot of humor in the episodes and whatnot. And Kelly asked her, is that a wrap for you and is that a wrap for you and Molly? And Issa, her chest is a little puffed out. Her back is a little straighter. And she's like, nah, I think I'm gonna just fall back for right now and see. She's like, did you keep this same energy when you talk to Molly about her and what her priority is, or what kind of priority am I to her? She's like, did you keep that same energy? And Kelly is just like, she mentions that, well, when her and Tiffany fell out, it got to a moment, got to a space or spot with them where they didn't know if they could come back from it. But Kelly's opinion is, that's your girl. Y'all should make up. This is another thing, when it's people that's not involved in the rift and not looking at it, the real dynamics at play, the real risk and reward, and weighing everything out, how it got here. Like, Kelly just wants to get the band back together, and is just kind of totally oblivious to the real things that happened that got him here. And that's another part of getting older and looking at these seasons and whatnot, is maybe that maybe because of whatever is going on with Molly, like, maybe I just don't need to be around her because I can't be the best me from the toxicity that she brings into this situation. Like, I know I got my issues and my shortcomings and whatnot, but pairing that with this overbearing person over here and her doom and gloom, maybe neither one of us can be great together. Like I said, though, I think that there's going to be a reconciliation unless they do a cliffhanger. I think it's only 2 episodes left. So Issa gets off the phone when Kelly gets home, smokes some loud. Like I said, her mother gave her a good word, and it gets home with her. The word, and it resonates with her all the way to when she gets home. She gets on the back on social media. I don't know if it was Facebook or whatever, but now she actually has it in her spirit to take in these compliments and understand, the magnitude of what she accomplished. And she smiles. She smiles after reading a couple of them. And then she gets to one, and somebody's like, well, I hope, are they going to do this again? Would there be another one? Who would be at the next one? And she's bold, and she's so emboldened based on what her mother told her that she actually responds and says, "I got you, coming soon." Now the funny thing is, she probably doesn't have a clue at all in what to do. I mean, she has the experience from what she just did, but now instead of turning to Condola for so many things and important things, she has to now call from this experience to make anything in the future happen. But then with herself, with her being a fan of the musicians and whatnot, I mean, if she got Vince Staples for the first one, she's probably gonna put some kind of pressure or expectations on herself to top that. So again, she needs to kind of get comfortable in her lane and work her lane versus overextending herself. So, after making this bold statement, throwing it out there that this wasn't just a one and done. It will continue in the future. Now she has to go get something to eat, and she actually drives out to this spot where this Ethiopian diner where her and Molly have been before, and she parks her car and gets ready to go in. She's still feeling good about everything, and is encouraged and whatnot. And before she can open up the door, she sees none other than Molly. And the interesting thing is that Molly is on her cell phone. She's texting with somebody, and somebody just sent her something that she's not sitting around broken up. Based on this reaction that whoever texted her, she's pretty normal. It's like she kind of got some things off of her chest, and this seems like she's kind of ready to move on. So Issa gets a little. Then the old Issa, the normal Issa, comes back. She flirts with going in, maybe going in and saying something, maybe just going in and getting her food and a dry high or something. Hey, but she backs down. She backs out, goes back to her car, gets in her vehicle, and goes home, and that's the end of the episode. It's kind of interesting that there was, and then they do that really weird on the show when they have characters or when there's different situations going on. It seems like a lot of times if it's an issue between A and B is completely left out of the episode. Versus them, and this is what kind of pissed me off with the whole Nathan situation is, we're still not really, and I guess it's just chalked up to the fact that he has mental health issues. But when he went away, like they could have done some kind of flash over to Houston to just show what he was doing. They opted not to do that. But that's and now like we had the situation. There was some thorn in the relationship with Lawrence and Issa a couple of weeks ago, and now we don't even see Lawrence for 2 shows. He on the bench for 2 shows. He ain't even dressed for 2 shows. Now Molly, she comes in for the end of for garbage time. So it's just they didn't show her what was. But like I said, next episode, I think it's going to be devoted pretty much all to Molly. I would imagine that there's some Issa in it. It's her show, but we will see. That's about it, man. Like I said, because I feel like I went through this stage. And actually, I'll expound on that a little bit. One of the things, what was it, 2016? When I started podcasting, when I started on YouTube, when I started writing about boxing, when I started writing about sports and whatnot online and kind of getting into all of that, none of my old partners really They didn't really have any interest in that. You know, they didn't really have any interest in, like, I'm discussing this whole new world that I've kind of stumbled across, understanding that you didn't have to be on traditional television and the regular platforms. And I got partners. We get to the sports bar or go to play pool. It's literally a competition to have the same discussions that they have on ESPN. It's literally, I mean, you can tell that some cats have written down or texted themselves some talking points. Because brother asked you, who's the top 10 or the top 5 defenses of all time in the SEC? I'm lining up my shot like, I don't know. Or, you know, the best Big Ten running backs of all time. Something. And I'm like, man, I'm trying to get another drink, win this game. But I mean, there was some discussions where, you know, you went harder on the topics that you were interested in. But like I said, it's especially one partner. He was notorious for like having these well thought out arguments that based on how the research and the thought that he had put into it, I was hopeless in trying to really do anything. But hey, I agree with you, man. I mean, it was Alabama, man. I mean, but so I say that to say, but when I came around, because coming out of school, and all of them had graduated from college, you know, 8 years before me, maybe even 10 years. But you coming out of school, you kind of have a different way. The way that I was challenged in these different programs is, you know, I went through the MBA program, and you come out with like actionable things to do things. You have an idea, let me take it to fruition. Let's do it. And so that was, like I said, when I came out of when I finished up my last program, and then I started tapping into, well, you know, all of this stuff that I'm into, like really, I've been rocking with this for like 20 years. And it's a way to do it now. It's a way for everyday folks to do this stuff now. I'm going to start a podcast. None of my partners wanted to do none of that. They didn't want to hear nothing about none of that. And just naturally, like when I'm talking about this season, I'm so busy troubleshooting how to do this, what equipment I need to buy, how I need to put it together, who I need to speak to for this, how I need to set this equipment up. You can get a logo, get this, think this, get a space in my house. As I'm putting all this together, I'm not even talking to none of my partners no more. My seat at the sports bar is empty. Like, I'm not even there no more. And so then even after I get it, like I get all the equipment and everything set up and I'm ready to rock, I go back again. Hey man, y'all want to get with this, man? I mean, y'all talking about what Stephen A. Smith said. We can do all that, right? We can do the, you know, Kornheiser and whatever my man's name is. We can do all that over here. And nobody wanted to hear none of it. And so, yeah, you know, I went to this same path. You know, I'm trying to get into something that I'm truly passionate about and something that's easy to do. And the more that I was, especially after I started getting some guests or getting some articles out there or even doing more on my YouTube channel, the more and more at times I would seek a little bit of, you know, some acknowledgement or something. My circle wanted to tell me more and more about Stephen A. Smith or more and more about you know, some other former player, Jalen Rose. Did you hear what Jalen Rose said? And it was almost like, we really gonna sit here and do this? Like, we gonna clash heads? It's like, nah, I just shut all that out and continue with what I got going on, and I'll holler at you when I holler at you. So, like, from that perspective right there, from having that experience, I'm really interested to see what they do with this over the last 2 episodes, because it might be some hilarious moments in there, and it's always dope when you can see yourself in art and kind of see how how they execute that, and so on and so forth. So, and don't take this as I'm telling you, I'm giving you the background on why this little part of the show, or this little plot right here, or this direction that they're going in. I'm telling you why it's interesting to me, but I don't harbor any ill feelings towards those brothers. I see them when I see them. We text each other and whatnot, and it is what it is. But like I said, one thing that I do with Pay Me, and that's how I got Pay Me No Mind, to be honest. That's where that all kind of came out of that. But that's one thing that I try to encourage people when I do, especially on my It's Always Personal podcast. It's about really tapping into yourself and finding, kind of finding the strength, the fortitude to do everything that you really want to do and that you really want to get done. Sometimes you got to look inside yourself for everything that you're trying to go out and do. You might not be able to look around and find a team standing with you. So like I said, I'm not bitter over none of that. Once I knew what was up, it was easier for me to run and go do what I got to do. That's why I spend very little time. I talk to people for a reason. Like, I'm not that I'm trying to use anybody like Issa here. It's not about trying to use anybody, but I'm trying to get this project that I've created in my mind that I want to do. A story that I want to tell. Like my man the other day when I wanted to talk about, he lives in PG County. He has his podcast on the DMV or the DMV Sports, and I wanted to talk about the Kevin Durant documentary. I reach out to him because he supports what I'm trying to do. Perfect match. But for somebody to try to pull me off to do what they want to do, what they have going on is very clearly, like, if it's no benefit to me in my time, if I can't add any value to it, hey bro, I wish you well in that, and good luck with that. I'll holler at you and check out to see what it was, how it turned out. But other than that, I got my own thing I'm doing. But anyway, let me get on out of here. I'm not gonna get into the billions thing. A quick synopsis. I've said this before. Shows hit this stride to when they create these scenarios or these situations for the main character, and they solve that problem the same way every time. They just solve it in a different manner. They use different things to make it happen. And right now, it's like what's happening with Axe is, especially since since him and his wife split, like, he's out in the world running wild, and it's just like no one can stand him up in anything. And what I mentioned last week was the cat Mike Prince, played by Corey Stoll. He's up 2-0 on him right now in 2 episodes. 3 episodes. I think we had the 3rd episode last night. He's up but he only did something in 2 of those. So he's 2-0. Actually, he might be 3 because he got the cover on him. He got the cover of the magazine all by himself when Axe didn't want to go be, it was like a XXL freshman or whatever they call that page, that whoever reads magazines anymore, or that whole XXL thing is less meaningful than what it was 5 to 7 years ago. The most powerful under 40 on Forbes, and Axe didn't want to be a part of that because he didn't want to be in the group. But then his second in command, Wags, talked him into going, and then they take all these group pictures or portraits. But then when the magazine comes out, Mike Prince was on the front of it. So he was 1-0 there. He stole the shaman that he wanted to get for the medical ayahuasca, whatever that marijuana, from up north somewhere. But he got that guy. And then this week, Axe had his mind set on getting these paintings from this. It was this Implosion series, I think was the name of it. Some nice paintings too, by the way. The cat they had playing the artist though, Frank Grillo, does not strike me as an artist though. I'm surprised that they cast him for that position. I mean, Frank Grillo is usually busting guns and knife fights, hand-to-hand combat, and a real physical type actor. For him to be this artsy dude, wanting to get commissioned for a painting, that really doesn't strike me as Frank Grillo. But anyway, a check is a check, I guess. But Prince gets. But as Bobby wants to go and buy this series of paintings, and he thought he had the inside track on them, Mike's already bought them. Mike Prince has already bought them. So, and one thing here that might be going on with Axe is that he seems to be getting a little sidetracked each episode. In this particular episode, I don't remember what the name of this one is, but it's episode 3. His son was trying to pull off a similar scam that he was trying to pull off in the first episode, I believe, something with Bitcoin, and it goes south. And again, Bobby, that's what the show is about. Things break and Bobby's character needs to fix them, or he's either out hustling the competition or he's trying to show the competition a lesson. So he flies to this school that his oldest son attends, and to fix it, since he can't just buy the dude flat out, he has to go get the hall cat, his PI, his private investigator guy, to go dig up some dirt on the guy. It's the same as Ray Donovan. This is the same as, it's a couple of these different shows now. It's the same thing all the time. Go find some dirt on them. We're going to leverage that against them and get them to do what we want them to do. But I will say this in Billion's defense. This episode might not have really seemed like a major, not a lot happened for the most part. It was a slower episode. But by the end of the season, Billion still seems to be able to deliver. Whereas conversely, I think it was the third season of Ray Donovan. Maybe after the third season, I didn't even come back for the next season. It was take the dude and get the dude into the hotel room with the prostitute or two prostitutes or a male prostitute, get him drunk, and then jump out the closet, take some pictures of him, and then we're gonna put that on, threaten to put that online or show it to his wife or something. It's the same thing. Every time he needed to fix something. So, but yeah, on Billions, I don't really know where we're going. I don't know. One thing that I don't understand is what's going on is what's up with Taylor. She's forced back to working underneath Axe. She had went out with her own shop, and it seems to be they seem to be struggling with. They don't want to lose their own brand that they created, but right now they're forced to work under Axe Capital's banner and whatnot, and their second in charge reminds them that they're not acting like themselves lately, and their people are picking up on it, and this whole relationship with Axe and Taylor Mason Capital, it's not working. So at some point, somebody's got to do something. I mean, I would imagine that Taylor has to wake up and get back on their game, and then eventually Bobby will start punching back against Mike Prince and Chuck. Even Chuck, we don't know what that Chuck is all screwed up, trying to figure out how to get back in good standing with Wendy, who wants really no part of his relationship. I mean, of a relationship with him or a marriage with him. So everybody is just kind of in limbo on the show. But getting to next week will be the 4th episode. I would imagine, like I said, Bobby will start punching back. He'll get his family situation in line, and the show will pick up. But right now, it's in that setup stage. But let me get on off of here. Thanks for rocking with me. Whoever was out here the whole time, you very quiet, but I appreciate you rocking along with me, bumping my gums on XYZ and whatnot, talking about how I quit hanging out with my partners to come talk in front of one person for an hour and 20 minutes. But let me get on off of here, man. Have a great day. Anybody that watches this after the fact, I appreciate if you like the way anything is being broken down and discussed, please hit that like button before moving on. Definitely talking about all types of, music, TV, and film in the future. So, come back. Be a subscriber. And, if you ever need, you want an opinion on something to watch or tune into. One thing I noticed coming back is, what's the name of it? Yellowstone? I think that's the one on Paramount Network with Kevin Costner. I think it's Yellowstone. That'll be coming back, I believe, within the next month. So that's one of my favorite series, and it's a bit different, being that it's based on a ranch with cattle raising or steering, whatever the hell they call it. So I'm looking forward to Yellowstone coming back. There's another show I was thinking about checking out. I watched part of John Henry on Netflix. I think about 3 minutes after the last credit, I turned that trash off, man. Damn. It was, and I think Terry Crews he stars in it. Ludacris is involved in it. He got a production credit or something on it. Like, when they said the last actor, how they usually say, and they say so-and-so, Terry Crews, Chris Bridges, or whatever his name is, Ludacris, one other character or one other actor, and then on that last person they say, and so-and-so, or a special, or featuring so-and-so. Like 30 seconds after that graphic went off the screen, I had to turn that mess off, man. It was horrible. And then I was like, it was late, so I was like, I can see this isn't good enough for me to fight through some sleep to watch it. So maybe tomorrow around 11:30 or something, 1:30, I'll check it out and I'll give it a shot. But I started seeing some feedback on it on social media. Here and there, and it was just like, it was some memes out there already, like people were going in on it. I probably won't make it back around to watching John Henry. It was like a big shootout. It was a big shootout, like right at the beginning of the movie, and I was like, I'm out, like I am now. Let me get on out of here, man. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Do me a favor and check out my man Sleeko got bars, his new project. God bless the real, and I'm out. Peace.
Stay low, go hard, get That's it, fuck that. That's it, fuck that. It's the one. Live by the club, ride with the gun, live for my queen, die for my son, drinking my cup, smoking my lungs, the life that we leave, get off fear none. I look around, the city I'm from, the places we've been, spots that we hung, and it ain't the same, but we don't complain, but make no mistakes.
I ride with the mob, cause I stay with the drum, bitch I don't fear none, me and my Orji, pulling on Orji, put cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused, keep both eyes open, cause where I'm from, niggas hopeless, they'll blow shit, they don't know shit. I ride with the mob, cause I stay with the drum, bitch I don't fear none, me and my Orji, pulling on Orji, put cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused, keep both eyes open, cause where I'm from, niggas hopeless, they'll blow shit, they don't know shit.
What should I ride? The bands of the lack. Hit the highway with the wind in my back, blood in my eyes, tears in my yak. The nigga that you met, same nigga in my raps. I hit the road with minimal luggage. I came with killers if I'm in the function. I'm moving gorillas and all of it's thugging. They ask where we from, straight out the jungle. They want my demise. I think it's funny, your bitch on my line. Pussy get punished, you know I'm a ride. That road it get rugged, unlimited vibes. I'm rising above it. I know where I'm headed. Straight to the money. You play with my niggas, my family, my money, and shit it get ugly. I do what I want to. You do what you able. You looking for sicko, you know where I'm going, I'm straight to the paper. I put the food on the table, cause that's all I ever knew. I won't put no bitch on no pedestal, I got too much on my schedule. Live by the club, ride with the gun, live for my queen, die for my son, drinking my cup, smoking my lungs, the life that we leave, get off fear none. I look around, the city I'm from, the places we've been, the spots that we hung, and it ain't the same, but we don't complain, but make no mistakes.
I ride with the mob, cause I stay with the drum, bitch I don't fear none, me and my Orji, pulling on Orji, put cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused, keep both eyes open, cause where I'm from, niggas hopeless, they'll blow shit, they don't know shit.